Welcome to this episode of our program Daily Debate. As usual, we will be discussing a contentious debate. Today we'll be speaking about a very important file, which is the sustainable development or the government's efforts in the previous years in order to overcome challenges, take more steps towards development, and many others, including initiating mega projects, including the or rather improving the economic situation, the living standards of people, solving unemployment. Many issues or many steps have been taken in the recent years, and particularly this year we have been able to see some of the fruits that were seeded during the past years. We're speaking about just a few days from a year to come, and we're speaking about what happened during the 2019. Moreover, what happened during the past recent years in the economic file or the sustainable development vision, which has been put by the leadership, or 2030 vision. We'll be speaking about that and more in our episode tonight. Before we delve into our discussion, first let's have a quick look on the top story of the day. And President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi held a meeting on Monday with Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli and Minister of Culture Ines Abdeldaim. Presidential spokesman Ambassador Bassem Radi said the meeting tackled the ministry's strategy and future plans, where President Sisi stressed the importance of spreading culture and arts and enhancing the national identity of and positive values in the society. The President urged to work on developing the cultural continents through direct communication with citizens, especially to those in villages and border areas, which positively will participate in achieving the state's comprehensive strategy of building the citizens' knowledge and culture. President Sisi also directed to rehabilitate the cultural palaces across the country, setting cultural programs and developing cultural associations at the aim of achieving the strategy's goals of raising awareness. Right, before we move to our discussion, let me first welcome our distinguished guests, Dr.Passant Fahmy, Member of Parliament. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And Engineer Ahmed El-Masharqi, Urban Development Consultant. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you very much for having me here.
Thank you. Before we start with our discussion, let's first have a quick report. And Egypt's national developmental projects have flourished. Let's watch.
Developing slum areas. Regaining Egypt's leading role, regionally and internationally. Supporting women empowerment. Engaging the youth.
قيام رئاسة الجمهورية بالتنسيق مع جميع أجهزة الدولة نحو عقد مؤتمر شهري للشباب.
Supporting national industries.
احنا بنتكلم كلام بجد عشان نبني بلد.
Upgrading infrastructure.
الغاز اللي احنا محتاجينه هيتم تدبيره من عندنا هنا من مصر. مصر تستحق منكم اللي ادتكم على مدى آلاف السنين ما أنتم فيه.
Together we make change.
Since President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi took office in June 2014 and became the President of Egypt, he spared no efforts to implement huge projects and major achievements. President al-Sisi sought to implement national developmental projects to limit unemployment rate, provide job opportunities for young people, and improve the economic conditions of the Egyptian citizen. Suez Canal Access Development Project is one of those mega projects in Egypt that was inaugurated by the President. The project's aim is to increase the role of the Suez Canal region in international trading and to develop the three canal cities, Suez, Ismailia and Port Said. The project included building new Ismailia city, an industrial zone, fish farms, completing the Technology Valley, building 7 new tunnels between Sinai and Ismailia and Port Said, improving 5 existing ports and digging the new canal. The new canal, which was inaugurated in August 2015, has increased the canal capacity by allowing the ships to sail in both directions at the same time for a greater proportion of the canal. It also decreased waiting time from 11 hours to 3 hours for most ships and increased number of crossing ships. The project transformed the canal cities into an important trading center globally. It also built new centers on the Suez Canal for logistic and ship services. The new Suez Canal is considered a value added to the national economy, represented in the growth of the national income due to the increase of the Suez Canal's revenues. In December 2015, President Sisi launched one of the greatest national projects that are adopted by the government. The first phase of the project of the reclamation of 1.5 million acres. The project aims to increase agricultural land in Egypt to prevent overcrowding, provide safe and stable jobs, and encourage investment opportunities and development opportunities in the new governorates. Another achievement is the National Roads Project, which is a large Egyptian infrastructure project. The project includes the construction of 39 new roadways with a total length of 4,400 kilometers and accounts for around 10% of the total length of all roads in Egypt. In an effort to find solutions to the chronic congestion of Cairo, President Sisi launched the new administrative capital. The project offers thousands of jobs and stimulates the economy, while Egypt's government institutions are scheduled to move to the new capital. And in light of President Sisi's keenness on improving the living conditions of poor people, the Housing Ministry announced under the directives of the President that it started to build 1 million homes for low-income families at a cost of almost $20 billion to ease a crunch that has seen slums and unlicensed buildings spread since 2011. Another mega project is Al Dab'a nuclear power plant, which is the first nuclear power plant planned for Egypt. The plant has 4 VVER 1200 reactors, making Egypt the only country in the region to have a Generation 3rd plus reactor. And in the framework of reforming education in Egypt, the website of the Knowledge Bank project was launched to serve 90 million Egyptians.
هنا صدق حلمي وبدأ قالوا عني زمان موهوم بيضيع وقت لا يوم سلمت ولا استسلمت ووقعت وقمت وامبارح غير دلوقت هنا قلبي من جوه ده اللي بيديني القوة في طريقي مشيت واديني ثبت
لن ننجح إلا بكم.
من هنا قررت بعد ما فكرت امشي عالصعب وعرفت انا لما كبرت ان اللي تفكر في ازمه كان خوفك منه ملوش لازمه واديك عالصعب قدرت واللي زمان ضحكوا عليك شوفهم دلوقتي بيداروك صفوف ما هو رهنوا عليك تخسروا كسبت. انا ابن مصر انا ضد الكسر انا رافع راسي تملي لفوق طول العمر انا ابن مصر قلبي نسر ما اقدرش اعيش ابدا يوم غير وانا حر. شفت يا زمان ومواقف ملهاش عد بس الصدمات بتقوي ومش بتهد. شفت يا زمان ومواقف ملهاش عد بس الصدمات بتقوي ومش بتهد. انا عندي ثقة بالنفس ومناعة ضد اليأس. انا ابن مصر أنا ضد الكسر، أنا رافع راسي تملي لفوق طول العمر. أنا ابن مصر، أنا ابن مصر، قلبي نسر، ما أقدرش أعيش أبدا.
Right, welcome back. Let me again welcome our distinguished guests, Dr.Passant Fahmy, Member of Parliament. Thank you so much for being with us. Engineer Ahmed H.Shamarka, Urban Development Consultant.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
Right, let me start with, of course, ladies first. And Dr. Passant, a number of national developmental projects have been taking place recently and throughout the past few years. How far is the government carrying on with measures in order to come up with the economic status of Egypt so far?
The problem for Egypt is that this market has been left for decades. Nothing was done during the last 40 to 60 years. And when I say that, I really mean it. For instance, you look at the problems you're facing. On the healthcare, you have problems. Education, you have problems. Infrastructure, you have problems. Industries, you have problems. I mean, you name it. So what we are doing ever since the 2011 up till now, you are rebuilding a country on all directions, meaning there is no section of the economy or the life of the people which has not been affected during the last years. You add to that the number of the population which is increasing drastically. We have passed 100 million plus. In order to really accommodate that number, creating jobs, food, security, you name it, you need to build, as we had in the plan, 14 or maybe 14 to 20 new cities. We had a time bomb, which was called people living in slums. So we started to work on the slums as well. So and we didn't have proper infrastructure, so we've been working on infrastructure and we still have a long way to go. And when we say infrastructure, we need to talk about electricity, gas, oil. So you are practically rebuilding a country. Education, distress, healthcare problems. So when we look at Egypt and what has been done during the last few years, although it's a very long list, yet you still have a lot to go. Because this, I repeat, the market has been left for years and years, decades. Look at the agribusiness. I remember very well the first day we went into the parliament. The first request we presented to the government, we wanted a strategy for food security. Because you cannot have 1 million plus person without having a proper food strategy, food security. And this is a major item in stability, in social stability and social security. When you import around 80% of your wheat, you import 100% of your requirement of oil, 65% of beans. This is the major plate. I'm not talking about the rest. So we were in a very critical situation. We made a proper strategy, which we call a 2030, for rebuilding that country on all aspects. Yes, we passed a big part of it, but yet you have a long way to go because it is not yet accomplished. You need to have sustainable development. And this word, although it looks simple, but it's a very complicated one. You see?
One of the issues you mentioned here was the food security, and I guess it was one of the main files that were discussed during the last World Youth Forum, right? And one of the recommendations that were also put. That was also put. One of the recommendations.
It's very critical.
Yes,
I mean, when you look at the people, what do they want? They want food and security.
Yes,
it's exactly like the version of the Quran. You give them food and you give them security. Without that, that's critical. It's not a joke, you see. Yes. So when you talk about food security as well, up till now we haven't reached yet anywhere.
Definitely,
because
there is a growing population, there is a huge need by people and population.
And you have a problem of water, of land, I mean, it's a long process. But what I can say is that the strategy for sustainable development is there. It will be updated because things have changed. Not because we are not trying to move on it fast, but the problem is that when you look at the globe itself, you find economic problems everywhere. Look at what is happening between the States and China, what is happening in Europe, what is happening in the Far East. Look at Africa and the poverty, the instability of the region. You're part of this. You are not working alone.
Yes.
And you're affected by all that. So doing or trying to achieve that strategy in a world, unstable world, dangerous situation. Wars are being talked about left and right, you see. And look at our part of the world. We are in the middle of fire everywhere. So we're doing all this and we're surrounded by fire left and right, you see.
Yes, indeed.
So
those are big challenges that
yes,
are
yes.
facing us.
Yes.
But if we speak indoors, because we're speaking today about the indoors and what had been achieved so far since we are at the end of 2019, and a number of developmental projects have been carried out. We're speaking about 14 new cities, smart and cognitive ones. We're speaking about new technology and smart technology that has been put into very much consideration in order to carry on with our sustainable development plans. We're speaking about mega projects that have been taken place, the Golden Triangle, the Suez Canal area, the land reclamations. We're speaking about the first phase implemented from the all 4 phases of 4 million
acres.
land
Yes.
or acres of land. We're speaking about many steps that have been taking place. How far do you think, or how do you assess what have been carried out throughout the past recent period?
Well, that's a very good question. I think starting with 2014, the leadership had adopted, as Dr. Passant was saying, the building of how to build the country from the beginning, or to build on where the previous have ended. But we've went far away, headways. We have 14 cities which are being developed as of now, but in the 2030 we're looking at 40 cities. Some of them are industrial cities in totality, in entirety. Some of them serve economic platforms in order to increase employment rates, in order to provide developments in a new flavor, which is maybe adopting contemporary to our culture, at the same time adding what you were discussing about the technology, the know-how, the international input. And the good thing is that throughout the phase, from the 4 years, the previous 4 years, adopting how to open the market, especially the urban development market, to the Western Hemisphere in general, or the international broad spectrum of know-hows have been actually brought on board. This helped
China
us.
for the first time, Germany.
Exactly. China, construction, very strong. Germany, consultants, very strong. US, strong. And by this, you actually develop even the specialists that you have on board that actually run things, execute things, and undertake them. And definitely went headways not only in the physical built environment, but for the personnel that dealing with them, from the youngest engineer to the CEO of a consultant company or a contracting company or whatever it is. And I think we've been going steady, very steady on the plan that was set at the beginning, at inception, and going towards the 2030 vision plan, very, very strongly, aggressively. And you can see it now in the new cities. And you can see it even in bringing on board things like automated and cognitive smart cities and urban developments, which actually help other parallel markets. Like if you look at the vehicle motor market, you have now ecological car, you have electrical cars that can actually have built environment infrastructure in the cities, in the new cities, that can actually help them to operate those vehicles. So we're becoming socially responsible, we're becoming environmentally responsible, and now even the administration is adopting the idea of having sustainable cities.
Well, I guess we also participated in the climate change recent conferences that were held worldwide, and even Egypt had a vision regarding that.
Well, because if we didn't have a vision, we would be impacted very hardly. We have three water.
Africa is one of the most impacted continents,
definitely.
indeed. Let us take it part by part, and we're speaking here about the development, for instance, in different parts of the country that have not been put into considerations before. We're speaking about Sinai, we're speaking about Upper Egypt, we're speaking about even developmental projects in the northern of Egypt. We're speaking about infrastructure and energy, because those two sectors have been very much put into considerations. How do you view the developmental projects that have been carried out, the Suez Canal area, Sinai?
In my personal opinion, the situation should be looked at more from a wider spectrum. Our part of the world is full of wealth, resources, but you don't have technology, and we don't have enough funding, finance. So we need to develop what I call a tripartite relationship, tripartite. Some countries have very advanced technologies, like the United States, Europe, China sometimes, and other parts. We have resources on our land, definitely, and we have, as we say, possibilities for many countries to come and join us in major projects, but we don't have enough finance. Some other countries have finance. So I think developing this part of the world, our country to start with, Africa as a whole, you need to develop a relationship between the countries who have the technology, which is the most sophisticated part, even when we talk about agriculture and agribusiness in general. It's not a matter of the same old style of managing that industry. You need technology. And other, for instance, we have oil, we have gas, we have gold, we have many resources, Egypt and Africa, but we don't have enough finance. Some other people have money, so the people could invest through stock markets, capital markets, whatever. So I think in order to go fast and develop that part of the world for the interest of everybody, because it is not anymore the time that every country, in my personal opinion, say this is my part of the world, nobody is supposed to interfere here. The world is open. We live in one world. Everybody has interest in Africa, and we have interest in other parts of the world. So I think in order to move fast, to help grow this part of the world, Africa, we are the entry to Africa since the time of the pharaohs, meaning they used to come to Africa through us, exit Africa through us. So we have a major role to play here, but we cannot play it alone. I think we need technology.
Dr. Passant, so let me take it point by point of what you said. You spoke about we need technology and we need finances, and definitely isn't that what we sought from Germany, Japan, Russia, and China, for an instant, and the U.S. Wasn't this exactly what the leadership has went to those countries in order to
haven't developed yet?
To seek?
Yeah. The equation.
Yes, indeed, but we have already did agreements, so
no,
they already carried out with steps towards that end.
No,
result,
we are still in the negotiation phase. Meaning,
no, we have definitely there have been agreements signed with Germany, for an instance. There have been
in what?
In different issues.
No, different. For instance, let's take an example: the gold. We have gold. Africa has uranium. We have oil. We have gas.
You're speaking about Africa at large, or we're speaking about Egypt?
Egypt is the entry. Egypt is full of resources. But you cannot use them alone. Even agriculture, you have mentioned just a few minutes ago, and agriculture projects.
And agriculture, and
you need technology.
Yes, definitely.
It's not anymore the same style. So you need technology in agriculture, even for water utilization. You need technology.
I guess some of the Eastern European countries, we sought their technology in this part, particularly agriculture, right?
Not yet.
No,
you need
the president has been
to talk. I mean, I'm saying if you want to really have You said we have 4 million acres we want to develop. We're going to develop it the same old style?
Definitely not.
No way.
Definitely not. And
So
there
you
are
need
very
technology.
new
Yeah.
processes for
You need as well finance.
irrigation.
Yeah, you need finance. Some people, the finance shouldn't be in the form of partnership, but it could be in the form of crowded, what we call it, crowded finance. We're crowding the finance. We call people to come and enter through stock markets or to capital markets or whatever. And you have this relationship to manage the wealth of Egypt and of Africa. You cannot now talk about one country and segregate it to from the rest of the world. I want to mention one point. The President Sisi, ever since he came to force, he did not leave one country on earth he did not visit.
Yes.
For that type of relationship, you need to have the strong countries, they have the technology, other could enter into crowded type of finance. We call it crowded type of finance. Small amounts, but they could be crowding and deliver large amounts. And you have the wealth. Why am I mentioning Africa? Because now this is the only part on earth where you could invest for the coming 150 to 200 years. The United
have everything.
States,
Africa
the
has
United
everything.
States is saturated. Europe have problems. They need to develop. They need to really invest outside. China and so on. But this part is still a virgin, as we call it. But in order to do that, you need to have that type of relationship, which in my personal opinion could be very successful and call for social stability, because you cannot leave the people living like this. Everyone has a right to live decently, especially with the new technology. You have your young generation seeing the whole world. It's not like before. You see what I mean?
Yes.
They see how Europeans are living, how the United States is living, so they want to have the same style of life. And you cannot really keep on telling them, cross the sea, you might die, you might reach. You have to stop that illegal immigration. So in order to do that, you need to develop that part the same way those big countries have been developed.
How is this being discussed in the parliament?
It's very important.
No, how is it?
We are discussing it all the time, because you need to have, the problem is how you're going to make the relationship.
Because
is
I
it
guess
50, 30?
that, those issues should be tackled between ministers and definitely the parliament
first.
And definitely
but the minister
has
has to have, I'm sure that Mr. President have this vision, because I repeat, he did not leave a single country on earth he did not visit, from the smallest to the largest.
Yes.
And each one of them will play a part, not only in developing of Egypt. I mean, the developing of Africa will help Europe, will have everywhere. I mean, the Middle East itself needs development. And this part, you could invest for the coming 150 to 200 years.
Indeed.
You see?
Indeed. The EU last, I guess, Africa 2018 and Africa 2019 and before, all these were conferences that were carried out in this particular domain you speak about.
And there is a coming one in England as well. England and Africa is being prepared. So Africa is the future.
Definitely.
And we are part of Africa, not only part, we're the end.
Yes. But we are speaking today about the indoors, not
there is nothing called, I mean, that's why I'm telling you, it is not anymore. You look at your development and, I don't want to say, and you disregard the rest of the world. It doesn't work like this.
Of course not, but there will be other episodes that will speak about our engagement worldwide, and this is why I'm speaking indoors. And let me here transfer the question that Dr. Passant did not answer.
No, I answered, but I answered it on a macro level.
Yes, macro level, yes.
So, Sinai and the development in Sinai, because Sinai particularly is a very particular area for Egypt. We're speaking about a very challenging area of our dear country. We're speaking about challenges, tremendous challenges that have been there, and hence there was this importance of fighting terrorism from one side, developing the area on the other, in order to put co-relevance between both areas to sustain living there.
Well, when it comes to built environment, it's one of the tools that you can use politically. And as you've said and mentioned, that Yes, in order to mitigate our borders relationship with any country in the world, it's known that you have to build urban communities in order to have populations living there. So you don't have this issue anymore. You don't have quarrels, you don't have fights, you don't have illegal residents of any sort. And funny that you have to mention it, actually there is steps toward doing that in Sinai currently by the administration. And it's not only that, it's actually adopting the agri-business, which provides more of a platform that if you're a youth, young, and you have facilitations financially in order to go and have, you have your house inside an urban community, but with it you have a huge portion of land that you get to reclaim, a huge portion of land that you have to add to. So it's not only that it's projected as a vision in order to have urban communities just by building buildings and roads and cities, no, but to increase and enhance the economic platform as well when it comes to certain industries that we've been depending on throughout our lives. It's like agriculture. So yeah, definitely Sinai is the pearl and it's the gateway as well. When you look at it, that's why the first strategic project that was actually adopted by the administration to bring everyone in solidarity and camaraderie was the new canal, because it has this much significance.
But we're also speaking not just about the Suez Canal, of course.
Yes, definitely.
Suez Canal.
The urban communities.
We're speaking about mega projects that have been started there. We're speaking about
Tunnels.
the Suez Canal area that should be an industrial hub.
Yes.
We're speaking about the comprehensive development of Sinai at large. And how far do you think we've been able to do our homework regarding this area?
That's a really good question. So we've started actually developing the idea about Sinai a long time before, not in this administration, but since the 70s. And it was actually the same model has been adopted in Hong Kong and Singapore. And you can see it. So for us, we started doing the main thing, accessibility. Tunnels, how can I open Sinai to be connected to everything around it? How can I make the traffic easier in order to be able to logistically transfer people throughout, in and out of Sinai, using the three main cities in Sinai, the Golden Triangle, which we're talking about, Ismailia, Suez, and Borsaid. And the new cities in them, definitely the infrastructure is number one, and we've already achieved a huge part of it, let's say 20–30% of the vision, infrastructure-wise, by adopting the tunnels. Not only those, but the ones coming as well, because we have more tunnels coming in order to rigidly connect Sinai to the surrounding.
Right. I guess before we continue on with our discussion, we'll have our second report in Egypt's achievements on economic level, the economic reforms and the national developmental projects on the way in the country have encouraged many countries and foreign institutions, as you were speaking, we need funds, right? To enhance the partnership with Egypt, the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, the EBRD, commended Egypt's successful economic reforms program, saying it helped boosting growth and attract more foreign direct investments. Let's watch.
Egypt opens up to the world. President Abdel-Fattah al-Sisi meets with world leaders.
أعبر لكم عن خالص الشكر والتقدير على حفاوة الاستقبال وكرم الضيافة.
Reaffirming Egypt's vision, delivering our voice abroad.
لتطوير التعاون الثنائي الاقتصادي والعسكري إلى مستويات غير مسبوقة.
Discussing regional and international developments. Solid and strong relations on the path of partnership and development.
There is a relationship between investment and development on the one hand and national projects on the other. In the meantime, national projects have their direct relationship to macroeconomic and reform program. In this regard, Betsy Nelson, the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development's Vice President for Risk and Compliance and Chief Risk Officer, has praised the bank's successful partnership with Egypt. She said that the EBRD has chosen Egypt as a key state for the bank's operations as a result of its success achievements on economic level. Nelson said that Egypt's infrastructure projects are a role model for the region and that the EBRD is committed to boosting the country's reform efforts and increasing its investments in the domestic market. The EBRD's investment in Egypt stand at around 5.3 billion euros over 99 projects, 58% of which are private sector. More than 50% of the bank's investments in Africa are in Egypt, with the remainder focused on Tunisia and Morocco. Nelson noted that the EBRD will expand its investments in the private sector in Egypt in light of economic reform that Egypt has adopted, which improved investment climate, sent positive messages to investors, and stimulated international corporations to channel more funds to reinforce private sector in Egypt, especially with the attractive investment climate that Egypt enjoys now.
تلمك ذكرياتك ضحكتك حبك لأمك الجيران الطيبين مدارسنا واحنا صغيرين هو ده اللي اسمه الوطن لما يضمك هي دي مصر اللي بحياتنا نفتديها مصر اللي من غيرها لا نسوى ولا لينا لازمة إلا بيها هي دي مصر اللي بحياتنا نفتديها مصر اللي من غيرها لا نسوى ولا لينا لازمة إلا بيها من كل لون أو دين يا مصر شعبنا مسلم مسيحي قلب واحد كلنا احنا اللي وحدنا الإله حبك ده مفتاح الحياة اسمك وبس نبض روحنا وعشقنا هي دي مصر اللي بحياتنا نفتديها مصر اللي من غيرها لا نسوى
Yes, welcome back. And as we were speaking, the developmental projects that have been carried out there, Dr. Passant spoke about the finance and the importance of finance, which is something very important and crucial in order to be carrying out with our developmental projects and sustain. So how far do you think that we have gone in this particular area of financing? And you've just seen this report of the IBIT commanding so far of our progress in economy. We have seen some reports by the IMF also and the World Bank.
The type of finance we should be seeking in the coming period shouldn't be the same one like before, because we had, I don't want to use a tough word, large amounts of debt, which the level of debt had become, if I may use the word, critical. So we cannot keep on borrowing. That's why I said I used the word other type of finance, like the crowded type of finance, whereby you get finance from people who are willing to participate in like a shareholding, but not exactly the shareholding, because I don't want to go through technicalities. But you need people to come and finance with you without being added to the level of debt you have.
You mean no loans, rather foreign direct investments? Invest, not don't give me money, but invest.
Finance in investments. Like when you go to the stock market and you buy shares in a company, practically you are financing the company. So we need to build that type of relationship, because you cannot go on with debt more than this. it could reach a level whereby it could be critical a little bit or become too expensive to have it. So I think in the coming period we will encourage, definitely we would love to see foreign investment. It is not working as we really hoped because of many reasons. Not really what is happening in Egypt, but as I mentioned, the area is not yet stable. We're in an area where I can call it always a boiling area. So to invite foreign investment in that timing is difficult. But you can do something else. You could finance through the crowded type of finance, whereby people could put small amounts, but it adds up and goes into projects like I will simplify it, like the stock market. So you need to have that type of finance, and you need to have people with their technology as well, because the foreign investment will not come with their technology now due to the region's area, not because of Egypt. The region is not yet stable. Yet if this region will be stabilized, I repeat, you will have work for 150 to 200 years to go, but not now. If you come back to Egypt, we have a lot of opportunities, definitely. But again, you have challenges. This is very important. We are still fighting terrorism, right?
Right.
And that's a critical part. You are still as well having not reached the social stability and social security, especially in the food and agribusiness as we want to. So you still have that another challenge. You need to train your young generation. There's another challenge. You have a very large population of youth, around 60 million. That's a challenge. So we have challenges, but you can turn them into very positive points if you really plan properly. And if, I repeat, you will have the help, like for instance, Germany is willing to help training our young generation. The United States have programs.
Germany vocational training,
China,
right?
yeah. I mean, you need to train your people, you need to develop the market, you need to work on many laws and regulations as well. So we are preparing the market, we are moving in the positive direction, but we still have some homework to do, like everybody else. And I repeat, we are not sitting in a stable area. Yes. We have to look into this seriously.
No.
Yeah.
Yes, we are in the middle of fire, as they
say. Yeah.
We have Syria, we have Libya, we have Sudan,
Iraq, you have Syria, you have
South
Yemen,
Sudan, Iraq, of course,
Iran, Libya, you have Sudan. I mean, the area is not really, Algeria as well, they have problems now, and Lebanon is joining the game. And so you need to settle all this to be able to invite when we go marketing. I'm an investment banker. When I used to go marketing overseas, we have 5,000 companies who can work on the globe. Those are the target. But those companies, they need to have special type of environment to come in, you see. So that type of environment has to be clear, and because when they come, they're not coming for trade, they're coming to invest, meaning they're going to stay with you between 25 to 50 years. So they have to see that stable 50 years. Because if they invest and they have problems, they're not going to take the factory on their shoulders and go on the plane. No?
Yes.
But trade is a different story. It's easy. Sell and go, sell and go. So if you want, we need to have direct investment, but we have some work to do, homework to do. We're working in the positive direction, but still we have some work to do.
Indeed, with the circumstances that we're within, I guess we have a great challenge in that. When the President spoke, he spoke about non-traditional paths and solutions. And we do need that out-of-the-box solutions, as the President said. So how far are we trying to find or trying to put non-traditional solutions to some of our problems, and what do we need to do more?
Okay, the first part, which is related to what Dr. Passant was saying, is that we are laying the foundation for preparing the markets in general in order to work more, to have more returns that you can actually feel on the social level, on the cultural level. The second part, the president have been doing a great job involving and engaging youth and doing out-of-the-box, non-traditional undertakings in general in most industry, in all industries. I think we've come close to having a better platform for the non-traditional ideas and the creative ideas to be actually brought into action. What we need to do more is of course, we have now education which is being looked at very emphasized in terms of the education. You know that the generation that you will have 20 years from now are either going to be the leaders of the region, developing Africa after you're becoming the gateway, or you will be standing still, or you will be maintaining yourself. So those are the kind of questions, and as Dr. Passant said, the investor doesn't come to see, they want to stay with you for 50 years. And the nature of the economy is that when you bring in different dynamics, it actually changes the resources, the human resources that you have on the ground. And non-traditionally, we should adapt this more often. Even if it's models like having an equation where you bring on board three parties to work on a certain fund or a certain financing, instead of doing it the traditional way. So it starts this high, and it goes down to the non-traditional way of even using technology nowadays. In any way, you look at even the vehicle transportation applications. Who doesn't use them today? We all use the applications. There's no more that you use public transportation. They're trying to pick up, but at the same time you have the other outlets that you can use. And we should adopt this more because it's showing positive projection, or at least that's our assessment.
We're speaking about using smart technology more into our lives.
Yes, and actually facilitating them more, providing them more, actually inducing them into the fabric of the society, because one way or another they will bring everyone on board with what's happening around the world. So we become competitors. We don't become anymore as the case where you need to help. You don't become a developing, you become actually a pioneer in what you're doing, especially for the African region. And again, I'm stressing on the African region because, as Dr. Passant said, we are the gateway. And looking at it ironically, what happens now is that all the South African countries are looking into Egypt to provide them the new construction methods, the new urban development methods, the new financing, everything. So you're actually developing this line where you're importing the know-how from the Europeans, the Western Hemisphere, Chinese, all those, bringing up everything and then chasing it forward to the African region. Yeah.
Yes. Fortunately, they have been telling me here that our time is out. I have to end it here. Dr. Passant Fahmy, Member of Parliament, and Engineer Ahmed H.Shamarka.
Yeah, it's a hard name.
Shamarka.
No, I don't.
I'm a development consultant, and H.Shamarka. I will say it 10 times until I get it. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
Thank you for your input.
Pleasure.
Thank you very much. Pleasure.
Dear viewers, thank you for watching. Tomorrow will be another contentious debate, also speaking about what happened during the year. Another file, important file. Until tomorrow, it's good night.